Hey guys, and welcome to the Walking Dead Horror Junkies of Utah podcast on season 6, episode 11, Knots Untied. And it's pretty much named Knots Untied for a very good reason. Why is that, Alex?
Probably because Jesus performed one of his many miracles and untied some knots. Maybe.
Well, I love it that basically the episode starts off just the same way we left off in the last one. Jesus is in the room, but now he's out of the room looking at some colorful painting, and Carl comes up behind him with a gun. It's like, "What are you doing in my house, you bastard?"
The best part of that whole scene is when he says, "What are you doing in my house?" And he just answers with, "I'm sitting on the steps."
I looking at
It
his
was so,
picture, I literally loved that because it was so nonchalant. It was just like, "Hey, this is exactly what I'm doing."
yeah, very literal. And what a weird way to find out your dad has a new girlfriend
I know.
by
They both
some
come out of the room
dudes.
naked or quasi naked, getting dressed.
And I don't want to skip this part too much because there's a scene before that with Abraham and his either he's happens or he's dreaming about his interaction with Sasha, and that kind of sets the tone for Abraham's character in the beginning of this episode, where
Yeah.
it appears he's falling in love with Sasha and doesn't have time for Rosita, or doesn't have it for Rosita anymore.
It's
Idiot.
now that happens at the very beginning, correct?
Yeah. Very beginning. You hear Sasha talking about how she's not going to be on duty with him anymore. It's going to be Eugene, the great action hero.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want him as your guard. Your backup out in the zombie world, but whatever.
And what this kind of brought a problem that I've kind of noticed in the show is I was looking at my notes. I couldn't remember Rosita's name, and I think it's just one of those things where this show is trying to juggle so many characters. We follow Abraham a lot, but all of a sudden there's Rosita, and now we need to care for Rosita, even though she's a central character to the story. I can't even remember Abraham's girlfriend's name, and it wasn't until she was mentioned later on the episode. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, it's Rosita.
And I totally agree. And with that whole concept, I agree because we have so many characters that are like main characters that we haven't seen in a minute now.
Right.
It's like I would expect like Carol and Morgan to be part of this thing as well, right?
Right.
And they're not there at all, non-existent.
Yeah. And what kills me is the common trope on this show. You know something's going to happen because there's a deliberate scene where she goes out of her way to do something for him. So she gives him that necklace, like the reflector necklace.
Uh-huh.
So you're like, okay, great. You're horrible foreshadowing. I know that's going to come into play at some point in this story.
And it did.
That
later
item
on.
is going to play a part, and we're going to have some sort of conflict between these two characters in this episode. It's not something that's going to develop down the line. It's something that's going to happen in the episode.
Yeah, right there and then. I mean, yeah, exactly. You don't see something like that necklace, and it makes such a grand entrance. I'll call it. I mean, the camera literally is like right on it and everything.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was one of the things. I mean, we've been talking lately in the podcast about shit in the show that drives us nuts. This is one of them. It's just the horrible foreshadowing. You know something's going to happen.
No, and that's fine. I was watching this episode at the gym today, and I totally forgot about the whole Abraham love triangle thing that's going on. So I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot that it opens up like that because I'm just like, okay, I want to see Michonne and Rick banging more, and Jesus coming in on them.
I mean, they're important characters, but because they're juggling so many storylines at one time, it's forgettable, and that kind of sucks. I can't think of a better way for it. The episode's going to be about them because it starts with them, and then we forget about everybody else. Like you said, Carol and Morgan.
Where the hell are they?
Fuck them. Who knows where the hell they are?
And you know what's going to happen is the next episode will be. It won't progress the story. We'll just go to other characters.
Right.
I seem to think they do that a lot. It's like, okay, we got this storyline up to a very exciting point, but we still got 3 more episodes till the end. Let's go to another character story.
Right.
But
But I mean, Abraham brings it back because he has that great euphemism for pancakes and Bisquick for sperm and impregnating somebody. So
okay,
he
now
brings
will
it
you
back.
explain that scene? Well, I mean, okay, so basically, Jesus comes. He's escaped his chains. He's a regular Houdini. He got out of the house, and I believe he was handcuffed too in the last episode, but now it was just not, obviously. But anyway, so he gets out. He appears in the room.
Right.
They talk everything over. Okay, all right. I guess you might be a good guy. Blah blah blah. And they're getting ready to leave, and a handful of the characters go, and some of the more important characters like Carol and Morgan are nowhere to be found.
Right.
And they head out and they're on the road. And so we got Glenn and Abraham out there, and they're in this RV, they're traveling towards the hilltop community, and they have a discussion themselves. And explain this discussion to me, Alex. The whole background of
it's the Bisquick analogy of Abraham wanted to know if Maggie getting pregnant was something that was planned or just happened, and they're rolling with the punches. If you remember when Laurie tells Rick that she's pregnant, it's just kind of this whole idea of how could you bring a child into this horrible world of death, and Maggie and Laurie are kind of the opposite of that. They're almost embracing it. It's something that they want to do, not something that just kind of happened. It's something that they planned because they want to make the world a better place rather than accepting the inevitable. So I guess you could almost call it naive or heroic. I guess it just depends on what side of the fence you're on.
Yeah, and I mean, Glenn is kind of taken aback by it a little bit, I think, but he kind of just says straight up, yeah.
Yeah. And I would think that's because it might not have been something that even crossed his mind that what they were doing was a stupid idea or a bad idea, however you want to phrase it, that they only had the best intentions. So I think it was an interesting conversation. It kind of harped back to some stuff that happened in previous episodes, which is kind of what they do.
And then we have one of my theories disproven, where I thought Michonne and Rick were just getting it on because, hey, you got a vagina and I got a dick, and they're fun when they go together. And it was totally not that. They were like,
well, yeah, and, in a world without internet, holding hands is the new Facebook official.
Yeah.
So that's how you know that they're together.
Because they can't go change statuses, so they're holding hands in that whole ride over there. Well, Rick kind of moves his hand over there. He's holding her hand. I'm like, oh God, I'm wrong. I thought you guys were just getting it on. Nope. I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last podcast, and I don't know if you already know, but he and Andrea in the comics become a thing. So I think that's kind of what they're doing here, is making him and Michonne a thing because they follow the comic kind of how they want to in certain ways. So that was my initial thought, was okay, this is the Rick and Andrea relationship.
I'm just so amazed at how easily Rick gets over women nowadays. Hey, my other girlfriend just got eaten with her family that I was ready to embrace. Now I'll move on to the next best thing. He's like, I got to get it before anyone else does. And then we come across this crash site, and there's zombies in the car or on the car. I don't really understand it, but
too.
And we're introduced to a whole new set of characters, which I think are just filler characters again.
Yeah, I had the same thing, and as they go into the hilltop community, just more fodder sacrifices of people we don't know for zombies. I mean, there were some important characters. We have an introduction of a guy who's an actual doctor, so he'll play some sort of a central role, I would guess. But for the rest of the people, we don't know anything about them. We don't care about them. They just exist to get eaten at this point.
Yeah, I think we've been introduced to many characters now after they rescue the hilltop community's little scavenger group, I guess, that was out with their doctor getting medicine and stuff. We got the one major doctor, and we have Jesus. He's evolving more for us, and I can't remember his name, but like the leader of the Hilltop community.
Right. His name escapes me right now, but I'll find it.
But we're introduced to them, and I think those are your three core characters, but everyone else is just a filler character, which is fine because we need people to kill off in the apocalyptic world, but it's very noticeable in this series now. Like, oh, nope, I can already tell you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. You said 2 lines, you're screwed, you know?
Right. It's Gregory is his name. Sorry, I could only think of the name of the guy who stabbed him, and I knew it wasn't Ethan.
Gotcha.
It's like, oh, fuck, I gotta look it up now. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's Gregory.
And so now they rescue the doctor, the whole group. They're good to go again. And I don't know what Rick's doing in this RV, trying to do 4-wheeling off-road stuff. And he's like, we're stuck. Well, no shit. You're like in a bunch of mud puddles, man.
Well, I think that's
probably,
part of... yeah, I think that's part of the defense for the Hilltop community, because Jesus had said something in passing about how it doesn't matter that they're stuck because they're there. And then you have the guy standing at the top of the spears, like, hey, stop or we'll point our spears at you some more.
I know, you only have a bunch of assault rifles, but we'll throw these, you know?
Yeah.
I go, great. Like, and it's funny, though, because us as an audience, we're sitting there watching this, and I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever. You know, okay, your little spears of madness, whatever you're going to do with those. But our group that we follow, our core group, they're even sitting there like, what the fuck? What are you going to do with those? You know?
Right.
We will not put them down. And then Jesus works his magic. Oh, let him in. And the doctor and everyone vouches for him. And they finally get in this Hilltop community. And it's almost like their eyes are all open once again to how we can continue after this with the cows and the crops and all this stuff that's going on. I mean, that was kind of a significant scene, I think. As soon as the door opens, it was like a door to heaven or whatever you want to call it to our group.
Right, just like a reminder that there's still people out there. And Abraham, making up for his I have a hot girlfriend, but I need a different hot girlfriend, drops the line, gracious Ignatius.
I didn't.
Which is great. I mean, it's like a one-liner machine. I love it. But I agree. That was kind of the whole, hey, we're not alone out here. And it's weird because they just had that reminder. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just got to Alexandria.
And then that went to the wayside, and now they're reminded again.
Right. But I think it's just one of those things for these guys. It's just that constant reminder that there are people out there who are trying to make the world a better place, even though they always seem to encounter the worst of people.
Exactly. And we finally go, you know, Jesus is like, okay, let me show you around. And he takes him to this old field trip museum place.
Right, it's like this central building. I mean, it looks just like it did in the comics. And what I loved about that scene is when Gregory opens the door and just says, Jesus. And there's that awkward pause.
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome writing.
And then immediately you know who the leaders are of the groups. You know, like he kind of looks at Rick and Rick looks at him. And they have that little, you know, why don't you go get washed up and we'll talk later.
Yeah, he's dressed nice, obviously, so he's kind of he's the guy who does nothing.
Yeah, and Rick looks like a dirty old hobo. But he's like, no, we're fine. He's like, no, you go get washed up.
You go get washed up. Yep.
And already off the bat, I can tell this guy's kind of like going to be a douchebag character.
Yeah.
And I haven't followed him through the comics, but I was just like, oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, even when he's talking to Maggie and he keeps calling her Natalie and keeps trying to bang her, like the first thought in my head is, wow, he's going to get a very satisfying death in this because that's kind of how they are with people who are assholes.
But I do like that, and I want to talk about that because you have our groups have finally met and they're in this negotiation phase, but it's not Rick that's doing the negotiation.
Right.
This other gentleman has now kind of taken control. He's like, I want to talk to Maggie.
Natalie.
Oh, well, he calls her Natalie?
Yeah, he calls her Natalie.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't call her Maggie. He calls her Natalie. And doesn't
Yep.
she tell him, "You stop,
Yeah, she
stop
said.
coming on to me, you old perv"?
Yeah, she calls him out on it, and that's when he says, "Look, you got nothing I need. We have guns. We don't have reason for guns." And I mean, that's really all they have because they really don't have that set,
Rick's group.
agriculture. They're not really growing anything. They're just kind of scavenging and shooting people who look at them cross.
Well, so yeah, like between these two groups, when I was totally watching them, it reminded me of the political situation we're in today. Like these guys are the Democrats up on the hilltop, and they're all friendly, and they don't need guns, and they just grow crops and are environmentally aware. And Rick's group are these Republicans in trucks with their guns, and they're like, oh,
I like that you saw it that way because I compared Gregory to Donald Trump.
really.
He doesn't give a shit. Everyone's stupid. He's the smartest person in the room, but he doesn't know how full of shit he is.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, who knows, Um, but so basically, we get to like a stalemate to where the hilltop community is like, we don't need anything from you guys. We have it all. You need us. And he says basically, I'll let you guys work for rations.
Right.
And Maggie doesn't like that idea, I don't think.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, I think the thing is that they know how important it is to have weapons in this world because people want what you have and they'll do whatever it takes to take it, which we find out is what's going on in the hilltop community.
Exactly.
With the following scene, because of course, like I said, I'd written down that, oh man, this guy's going to get killed and it's going to be good. And then right away he gets stabbed by Ethan.
Now,
as he walks out the door.
That happens. I mean, basically, now we have this group of people who have returned.
Yep, saying that one of their own has been captured and others have been killed, and they bring a message from Negan, and then he shanks him. Shanks Mr. Gregory.
What did you think of that? Because he's obviously not one of Negan's guys. It's one of their own that stabs him.
Well, I think it's initially very confusing because you're kind of like, what? Is this guy a traitor? Is he... Clearly, they know who he is, so it's not like... Mm-hmm. It's not like one of Negan's men just kind of snuck in. Maybe he was a spy, you're not sure. And then they start to kind of unravel this relationship that the Hilltop community has with the Saviors, which is the group that Daryl and those guys run into, Negan's group.
Exactly.
So it kind of starts to unravel, but that was actually... I thought that was a really fun scene.
I enjoyed it a lot. I love how Rick goes into badass mode. It's like, oh, don't you stab someone around me, and gets into this big old fight with that gentleman.
Right, with Mr. Ethan, and then Daryl breaks that guy's arm. I mean...
But I love how Abraham jumps in and then just starts getting his ass kicked real quick.
Yeah, it's... And it was something we kind of skipped over with the scene where they find the other people from the hilltop. Is Abraham's kind of reverting back to almost Death Wish Abraham, where he just kind of wants it all to end in some glorious fashion.
That's not what came to me in my mind when he's getting choked out. Have you seen The Green Inferno yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, God. Well, so you need to watch it, but there's a scene in The Green Inferno that reminded me directly of this scene, but we just get these two men staring themselves down and, Abraham's getting choked out. And in The Green Inferno, they have the same type of scene, but the guy that's getting choked out starts masturbating.
I figured it'd be something about autoerotic asphyxiation.
And that's just, when I seen that scene, I mean, I know it's gross, but that's from that movie that implanted that seed in my mind. Now whenever I see a choke out scene, I'm just going to think, oh God, what's he really want? But I think you're right. He's regressed back to his old ways of, I just want to die in a glorious way.
Right. But obvious symbolism is obvious. We had the necklace at the beginning of the episode, and Daryl, after snapping that dude's arm, hey, Abraham, bro, you okay? And he's like, I've never been better. I'm Abraham. And then as he sits up, the necklace is left behind. So we've obviously realized he's chosen Sasha over Rosita in his mind. So, I mean, again, it's the obvious stuff that goes on in the show where there's no subtlety at all. And we now realize that Abraham would rather get it on with this other gal rather than his super attractive and tough girlfriend.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then we have Rick, who is rescued by Michonne's distraction, I guess I would say.
Yeah, she grabs her sword and threatens the guy. It's like, hey, and he's like, hey, what's up? And then Rick just goes straight for the neck. And we had talked about it before. I mean, these are just fodder characters,
Yeah.
but even for this short kind of stuff, it's fun. Adds fun in spurts.
Oh yeah, this whole scene was my favorite part of the episode, and my favorite part is after this whole fight has come to kind of a conclusion. You have the other hilltop characters running over with their spears like a bunch of idiots, and they're like, "Drop it!" And he's like, Rick just cocks it back. It's like, "I don't think I will." And
Yeah, and
I'm like, "What are you guys gonna do yet?" Like, he's got a big old hand cannon, and you got like a scythe from the farming community. I don't know.
It's not even a scythe; it's a pointed stick.
Yeah.
Like,
And I love that because you see, like, I don't know if these people have never been confronted with that type of, oh, not technology. Obviously, they've been confronted with guns and stuff before, but the hilltop people are like, they think they're the ones in charge, but really they're not.
right.
And I think the only one with a brain on that is Jesus. The Jesus guy's like, oh, we're done here. This happened. And he really does remind me of like Jesus, the biblical character at times.
Right. And I'm sure that's, obvious stuff that Kirkman had did. There's the brilliant symbolism that the guy who brings peace to everybody is named Jesus. Go figure.
And so now we have a whole new scenario of you guys do need us. At first you thought you didn't. Now we understand your situation. You have one of your, I don't know, clan members, whatever you want to call them, in Negan's hands, and he's going to execute them if this doesn't happen. And obviously they're already taking half of what you got, so let us take half and we'll take care of them.
Right. And back to Natalie talking to Gregory because he survived the stabbing. You kind of have the tables have turned. We find out Maggie's just really this great cutthroat negotiator. And I don't know if they discussed it beforehand. You have to take it with a grain of salt, but it was. I mean, aside from the action scene, I liked that scene.
I like
a lot, and it's just because it was, he who laughs last laughs loudest kind of thing. Like, oh, you don't need us, huh? You're giving half your shit to this one dude, so here's what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
We're gonna take half your shit and kill this dude and get your friend back because fuck you.
And I love the development of her character over this series. Like seeing her back when we were on Herschel's farm and then seeing her in her position now. She's just like this pregnant badass that's like, I'm going to say it how it is and you're going to either like it or not.
Right.
And she always wasn't that way, but she's definitely developed her own character persona, about herself.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to start getting more of a major role in this series. I mean, she's always had kind of a side role that's always been there.
Right.
But she's never played like a key player in the series. She just goes along with whatever. I don't think that's going to be her anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and if they, without spoiling, if they follow true to some of the stuff that happens to the survivors, the Rick's group, then of course they're going to start to build her character up. I don't even know how much of a spoiler it is now because I think everyone kind of talks about it with this new community that they're in. But I think that's part of it is we start to kind of get more and more introduced to characters. The more and more they become important, and then that's when something bad is just around the corner. We don't just build up characters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, outside of Rick, but again, we've had the discussion that Rick's untouchable. Nothing's going to happen to him.
Oh, no.
Don't worry.
Rick still hasn't lost his hand, so.
Oh, he's not going to lose it. He lost it to the governor in the comics.
I could see them making him lose it in a different way, though.
Maybe. I
I mean,
don't, but
I don't know. That's just my mind. But so basically, they have their 50-50 thing they're doing now. You give us 50% of your food, we'll go take out this group. Do you think that Rick's group is very much so underestimating Negan?
going into it without bias, without knowing the kind of stuff that goes on in the comics,
Because you're a comic
which
follower and
really,
I'm not.
well, it's been a long time since I've read them. But if I'm taking it at face value from the show,
Mm-hmm.
I can see why he is so confident in the group when you think of all the stuff that he's been through, and you think of all the stuff that his the main survivors, like Michonne and Glenn,
What everyone's been
what
through,
they've what they've been through, the things that they've survived. Um, they've seen what they think is the absolute worst in people, and one of the things that they talk about was when they first were confronted by Negan's group, how Negan's group killed one of the people in the Hilltop community in front of everybody, just so they
beat him
could
to
do
death.
business. So I don't think they've encountered anybody like that. I mean, they've encountered people who are liars, like the governor and kind of a two-faced character.
Mm-hmm.
You've confronted people who are kill or be eaten, either fight for us or you become our food. So they've encountered people like that, but I don't think they've ever encountered people who basically kill for sport.
Yeah.
And so I think they are underestimating them, but from what we've seen in the comics, I mean, Rick ripped a guy's neck off with his teeth. So I can understand why he's very confident.
And what was your overall feel of this episode then?
I'm torn on it, and that's because I think the episode is very important. Okay, don't get me wrong. We got introduced to a doctor. We're introduced to a new group. We're introduced to the idea of trading between groups. We're introduced more to Negan's group. We know more about their kind of mentality. And at the same time, this episode bored me. So I understand how important it was. It's very important to the progression of the story. It wasn't just fodder. I mean, season 2 had a lot of stuff that was just in there to be in there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was fodder for the sake of padding out episodes.
I just thought
But there was very little to write home about today.
Yeah,
It's like, oh man, that scene was so great. This happened, and I learned so much about all these different people. It was awesome.
I thought they could have told this episode in a 20-minute segment rather than the 44 minutes it's given. I just thought there were scenes that were not unnecessary, just drawn out, I guess,
right,
in very long segments. But I mean, it's an important episode because it introduced us to new characters, a new community, a new challenge, I guess. But
right.
do you think they are going to follow up on the next episode with, directly follow up with this? Or do you think we're going to go all of a sudden back to Alexandria and we're going to have a Morgan Carroll episode or something?
Okay, so the optimistic Alex thinks that the group is going to go back to Alexandria and they're going to talk about it with all the other people at Alexandria, right? They're going to, all right, everybody come around. We're going to have a council meeting. Here's kind of the situation. Here's what we have to do. These are bad guys. And I think even in the preview, the shitty preview they have, Rick's talking about how, if we don't go for them, they're going to come for us because here's kind of what they've done with the other community. Pessimistic Alex, and maybe not even pessimistic, I mean, you can even call this optimistic, is while Rick and those guys are out visiting the Hilltop community, that's when Negan and his team are going to come to Alexandria. And maybe not even Negan, maybe just part of his crew.
I could see that.
Come down to harass them and talk about how they want half their stuff. Half the things you own belong to us. Don't make us come knocking twice. So I can see both. And the more interesting one to me is the one I'm more pessimistic about because I can see all this drama and build up to just one really intense scene.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking with that preview in mind, they're going to just continue to progress the story.
Gotcha. Well, that's not a bad thing. I didn't see the preview. I watched this on demand, so that cuts off right at that. But what I would have thought is, since we haven't seen Carol or Morgan or our priest fella,
Gabriel and Carl got left behind,
or any of them for a while, I thought we would just see an episode of just them in character development filler type stuff. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope either one of those scenarios plays out that you're talking about, because that would be really interesting. So I definitely think this episode was needed. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to when it first opened up. And that's my last take on it. So, any little last words?
Supposedly, according to IMDb, so take this at face value, is that this is going to be an extended episode. I don't know if that's true or not, but IMDb says this one will be an extended episode.
Well,
so
IMDb is probably right.
So I don't know. I mean, hopefully
something
good will happen. But that could also mean a 90-minute episode with 5 minutes of actual action, and then the rest is just kind of wonky garbage bullshit. So who knows?
So hopefully something interesting happens. Anyways, let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Go ahead and give us a like and a share. And go check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well. And where do you think The Walking Dead's going? Do you think it's ever going to stop? Anyways, I am Marcus.
And I'm Alex.
And this was our breakdown of The Walking Dead.
Not Untie. Oh, I thought we were going to say that together.
I'll do like a little outro thing. Anyways, guys, you have a great night.
Hugs and kisses.
Bye-bye.